Madison Cole stood on the busy downtown street, her phone pressed to her ear, fighting back tears of frustration. Her best friend's voice crackled through, full of apology. "I'm so sorry, Maddie. I know I promised, but this food poisoning is brutal. I can't be your +1 tonight. I can barely stand up." Madison closed her eyes, willing herself not to cry. Tonight was the charity gala her ex-boyfriend would be attending with his new girlfriend. The same ex who'd told everyone Madison was too ordinary to fit into his ambitious life. She'd spent weeks planning to show up looking confident and happy, proving him wrong. "It's okay, Jess. Feel better," Madison said, ending the call. She looked down at her pink dress and cream blazer, the outfit she'd chosen so carefully. All dressed up with nowhere to go and no one to go with. Going alone would be admitting defeat. Not going would be letting him win. Madison sank onto a nearby bench, her mind racing through options. Everyone else she knew was either out of town, working, or would take too long to get ready. The gala started in 40 minutes. That's when she noticed him. A man sat on the other end of the bench, coffee in hand, staring at nothing in particular. He looked to be in his early 30s, with dark hair and strong features. His charcoal suit was perfectly tailored, his watch expensive but understated. There was something about the set of his shoulders that spoke of weariness, like he was carrying weight no one else could see. Madison made a decision born of desperation and a lifetime of being told to play it safe. She was done playing it safe. She moved closer. "Excuse me? I know this is going to sound completely insane, but I need to ask you something." The man looked up, his hazel eyes meeting hers with surprise. "Yes? Can you pretend to be my date for tonight?" "Just for a few hours. There's this event, and my actual date canceled, and my ex will be there, and I just need someone to stand next to me and look like they're interested in what I'm saying. I'll pay you. $200 for 3 hours. The man blinked, clearly taken aback. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "You want to hire a complete stranger off a park bench to be your fake date?" "I know how it sounds," Madison said, her words tumbling out in a rush. "But I'm desperate, and you look respectable. You're wearing a nice suit. You have kind eyes. And honestly, you look like you could use a distraction from whatever you're thinking about so seriously." The man studied her for a long moment. Madison held her breath. "What's your name?" he asked. Madison Cole." "I'm Garrett," he said. He set down his coffee and extended his hand. "Garrett Pierce." They shook hands. His grip was warm, confident. "So what do you say, Garrett Pierce? Want to help a desperate woman save face in front of her judgmental ex?" Garrett glanced at his watch, then back at her. Something in his expression shifted. A decision being made. "I'll do it," he said. "But you don't need to pay me." "Really?" Madison felt a surge of relief. "Thank you. Seriously, thank you so much." "On one condition," Garrett added. "You tell me the truth about why this matters so much to you." They had 20 minutes before they needed to leave for the gala. They stayed on the bench, and Madison found herself telling this stranger things she'd barely admitted to herself, about her ex, Trevor, who'd made her feel small for being a middle school art teacher instead of having a real career, about how he'd ended things by telling her she lacked ambition and sophistication, about how he'd moved on instantly to someone who worked in finance and wore designer everything. "I know it's petty," Madison admitted. "I know I shouldn't care what he thinks. But I spent 2 years with someone who made me feel like I wasn't enough. Just once I want him to see me confident and happy. I want him to wonder if maybe he was wrong about me." Garrett listened without interrupting. When she finished, he said quietly, "He was wrong about you." "You don't know me," Madison pointed out. "I know you're brave enough to ask a stranger for help. I know you care about proving something to yourself, not just to him. And I know that anyone who makes you feel ordinary is someone who can't see clearly." Madison felt tears prick her eyes. "That's really kind of you to say." "It's not kind. It's true." Garrett stood and offered his hand. "Come on, let's go show your ex what he lost." The gala was at the Grandview Hotel, a glittering affair with champagne and string quartets and people in elegant clothes making elegant conversation. Madison felt her confidence waver as they entered, but Garrett took her hand. "Remember," he said softly, "you belong here. You're extraordinary. Say it." "I'm extraordinary," Madison whispered. Louder. I'm extraordinary, she said more firmly. Perfect. Now let's do this. They entered the ballroom together. Garrett was the perfect date, attentive without being overbearing. He listened when she spoke, laughed at her jokes, kept his hand on the small of her back in a way that felt protective and reassuring. Madison spotted Trevor across the room. He was holding court with his new girlfriend, a tall woman with perfect hair and a designer dress. When Trevor's eyes landed on Madison and Garrett, his expression shifted to something between surprise and irritation. "That's him?" Garrett asked. "That's him." "He's already looking at you like he made a mistake," Garrett observed. "Good." Throughout the evening, people kept approaching Garrett. Important-looking people who called him Mr. Pierce and talked about business ventures and board meetings. Madison started to realize that Garrett wasn't just some guy who happened to be wearing a nice suit. During a quiet moment, she pulled him aside. "Who are you, really?" she asked. Garrett looked uncomfortable. "What do you mean? Everyone here seems to know you." "They keep treating you like you're important," he sighed. "I am important. In the business sense, I run Pierce Industries. We develop sustainable technology solutions for manufacturing. We're worth about $300 million. Madison's mouth fell open. "You're a CEO? A millionaire CEO? And you were just sitting on a park bench?" "Sometimes I need to get away from it all," Garrett admitted. The pressure, the constant decisions, everyone wanting something from me. "I go to that bench when I need to remember what it feels like to be just a person." "And I interrupted that by asking you to be my fake date," Madison said, mortified. "You gave me exactly what I needed," Garrett corrected gently. "A reason to stop thinking about work. A chance to help someone who needed help. A reminder that not everyone sees me as a bank account or a business opportunity." Before Madison could respond, Trevor approached with his girlfriend. "Madison," Trevor said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "What a surprise to see you here." "Trevor," Madison replied coolly. "This is Garrett." "Garrett, this is my ex, Trevor." The two men shook hands. Madison noticed Trevor wince slightly. "And what do you do, Garrett?" Trevor asked, his tone suggesting he expected an unimpressive answer. "I work in technology," Garrett said simply. "Oh, IT work? That's practical," Trevor said dismissively. He turned to Madison. "I'm surprised you could afford tickets to this event. They're $500 each." "I didn't pay," Madison said truthfully. "Garrett's company donated them." Trevor's girlfriend leaned in. "Which company?" "Pierce Industries," Garrett said, pulling Madison closer to his side. The change in Trevor's expression was immediate. He clearly recognized the name. His attempt at superiority crumbled into something like panic. "Pierce Industries," Trevor repeated. "You're Garrett Pierce. I read about you in Business Journal. You're revolutionizing green manufacturing." "Trying to," Garrett said modestly. Trevor scrambled to recover. "I work in finance. Perhaps we could discuss some investment opportunities." "I don't mix business with Madison's personal life," Garrett interrupted smoothly. "This is her evening. I'm just here to support her." He looked at Madison with such warmth that for a moment she forgot it was an act. Trevor and his girlfriend made their excuses and left. Madison waited until they were gone before turning to Garrett. That was amazing. "Did you see his face?" "I did," Garrett said. "But more importantly, did you see yours? You stood there with your head high, completely confident." "You did that, Madison." "Not me." They danced, talked to other guests, ate overpriced appetizers, and laughed at the pretentiousness of it all. And somewhere during the evening, Madison forgot that Garrett was a stranger she'd hired off a bench. He felt like someone she'd known for years. As the night wound down, they found themselves on the hotel's outdoor terrace, looking at the city lights. "Thank you for tonight," Madison said. "You went above and beyond for someone you don't even know." "I feel like I know you," Garrett replied. "You're genuine in a way most people in my world aren't. You asked for help when you needed it. You showed up for yourself even when you were scared." "That's rare." "You're pretty rare yourself," Madison said. "A CEO who sits on park benches and helps desperate women impress their exes." Garrett laughed. "When you put it that way, I sound either very kind or very foolish." "Definitely kind," Madison said. She hesitated, then asked, Why were you on that bench? Really? Garrett was quiet for a moment. Today would have been my wife's birthday. She died 3 years ago. Cancer. Every year on this day I struggle. The business, the success, none of it matters when I remember what I lost. I was sitting there trying to figure out how to get through another year of missing her. Madison's heart broke for him. I'm so sorry. And then I interrupted with my ridiculous problems. Your problems aren't ridiculous, Garrett said. And you didn't interrupt. You saved me from drowning in grief by giving me something else to focus on, someone else to care about, even if just for an evening. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city below. Can I tell you something? Madison asked. When I saw you sitting there, you looked sad, but also strong, like someone who'd been through hard things but hadn't let them break you. That's why I asked. Not just because you looked respectable, but because you looked real. Garrett turned to face her fully. Madison, I know this started as a favor, a transaction, but tonight hasn't felt like that. It's felt like the first real thing I've experienced in a very long time. For me, too, Madison admitted. So what happens now? Garrett asked. Do we go our separate ways? Pretend this was just one unusual evening? Madison thought about the man standing before her, about how he'd made her feel seen and valued, about how his sadness resonated with her own struggles, and how together they'd both felt a little less alone. Or, she said carefully, we could get coffee, tomorrow, as ourselves, not as fake date and desperate woman, but as two people who want to know each other better. Garrett's smile was the most genuine thing she'd seen all night. I'd like that. I'd like that very much. 3 months later, Madison stood in Garrett's office, looking at the framed photo on his desk. The two of them at a coffee shop, laughing at something off camera. It had been taken the morning after the gala at their first real date. Why do you keep that there? Madison asked. You have actual professional photos from actual professional events. Garrett came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Because that photo reminds me of the day I stopped pretending everything was fine and started actually being fine. The day a brave woman on a bench taught me that asking for help isn't weakness, and that life can surprise you when you least expect it. I didn't teach you that, Madison protested. I just needed a fake date. You needed courage, Garrett corrected. And you had it already. You just needed someone to see it. The way you helped me see that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting what we've lost. It means honoring it by living fully. Madison turned in his arms. We're quite a pair, aren't we? Both pretending to be something we weren't until we found each other. I think we were always who we are now, Garrett said. We just needed someone to see us clearly. They'd learned that sometimes desperation leads us to exactly where we need to be. That strangers can become home. That the worst days can turn into the best beginnings if we're brave enough to ask for help and wise enough to offer it. Madison had gone looking for someone to help her prove her worth to an ex who never deserved her. Instead, she'd found someone who saw her worth without her having to prove anything at all. And Garrett, sitting on a bench drowning in grief, had been rescued by someone who needed rescuing herself. Together, they'd discovered that healing isn't about forgetting pain. It's about finding someone who understands it and chooses to build something beautiful anyway. The fake date had become real. The stranger had become love. And two people who'd thought they were beyond happy endings had found a new beginning on a park bench on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. If this story touched you, please like and share it with someone who believes in the power of unexpected connections. Subscribe for more stories about taking chances and finding love in surprising places. Comment below about a time when asking for help led to something wonderful, or when a stranger became someone important. Your courage to share might inspire someone else to take that leap.